Two crews mow the same size yard on the same street with the same machine. One finishes in 40 minutes and the lawn looks like a golf fairway. The other takes an hour and 10, and by Thursday the tips are browning. Same equipment, same grass. The difference is about 10 things, and not one of them costs $1. I am going to give you the first one right now, because it is the one you can do this weekend, and it is the one that separates a lawn that looks maintained from a lawn that looks mowed. Sharpen the blade. Every 8 to 10 hours of runtime. That is it. That is the first hack. A commercial crew swaps blades daily and has a second set sharpened and waiting. The average homeowner sharpens once a season, or never, and does not connect the dull blade to the problem it causes. Here is what a dull blade actually does. It does not cut the grass, it tears it. Look closely at your lawn 2 days after mowing, and you will see the tips are frayed and slightly white or tan, instead of a clean flat cut. That torn tissue is an open wound on every single blade of grass in your yard, and it does 3 things. It loses water faster, it invites fungal infection, and it makes the whole lawn read as pale and dull from the street, even when the grass underneath is healthy. That whitish haze people describe as their lawn looking tired, on a lot of yards, is just torn grass tips catching light differently, so sharpen it. And here is the part crews know and homeowners do not. You do not need a perfect edge. A mower blade should be sharp like a butter knife, not like a razor. A razor edge chips and dulls within an hour on the first rock. A butter knife edge holds for the whole season. The practical version takes 15 minutes. Disconnect the spark plug first, always, and tip the mower on its side with the carburetor facing up, so fuel does not run into the air filter. Mark the underside of the blade with a paint pen before you take it off, because putting a mower blade back on upside down is the most common mistake in home lawn care, and it produces a machine that makes noise and cuts nothing. A $10 file works, so does an angle grinder if you have one, though you have to keep the blade cool. Follow the existing bevel, usually somewhere around 30 degrees, and take the same number of strokes on each side so it stays balanced. An unbalanced blade vibrates, and that vibration destroys the crankshaft bearing over a season. Test the balance by hanging the blade on a nail through the center hole. If one end drops, take a little more off that side. And here is what crews actually do, which is smarter than sharpening. Buy a second blade. $20. Swap it in 5 minutes when the first one dulls. Sharpen the dull one when you feel like it. You are never mowing with a bad blade because there is always a good one in the garage. Now, sharpening the blade alone will improve your lawn. But it will not get you those stripes, and it will not stop the browning, because the blade is only one of 3 things that decide how a cut turns out. The other 2 are the height and the pattern, and they interact in ways that surprise people. Which brings me to number 2. Number 2. Change your mowing direction every single time. Watch a professional crew and you will notice they never mow the same way twice. This week diagonal one way, next week diagonal the other, the week after that straight across. Not for looks. It is mechanical. Grass leans in the direction you mow. Cut the same line every week and the blades permanently lay over in that direction, which means the mower deck rides over the top of them instead of cutting them cleanly. You end up with grass that is technically long but lies flat, and the lawn looks thin because you are seeing the sides of the blades instead of the tips. Worse, the wheels roll the same track every time. On a lawn mowed identically for 2 seasons, you can see the compaction lines, and grass on a compacted track roots shallower and browns first in a dry spell. Rotating your pattern makes the grass stand upright, distributes wheel traffic, and takes 0 extra time. Just start from a different corner. And the stripes people pay for? That is this exact principle, and it is worth explaining because most people have it wrong. Stripes are not cut into the grass. Nothing is being cut differently. Stripes are grass bent in opposite directions reflecting light differently. Blades leaning away from you look light. Blades leaning toward you look dark. That is the entire effect. Commercial mowers have a roller mounted behind the deck that lays the grass flat as they pass. You can get most of the same result with a piece of PVC pipe or a section of rubber mat dragged behind a walk-behind mower, and there are bolt-on striping kits for under $100. But the real requirement is height. You cannot stripe a lawn at 2 inches because there is not enough blade to lean. Stripes need 3.5 inches minimum. That is why professional lawns stripe, and yours does not, and it has nothing to do with the machine. Number 3. The 1/3 rule, and why crews never break it. Never remove more than 1/3 of the blade height in a single cut. If your grass is at 4.5 inches, you cut to 3, not to 2. Here is why this matters more than any other single number in lawn care. A grass plant's root system is proportional to its leaf area. When you remove more than 1/3 at once, the plant cannot photosynthesize enough to support the roots it has, so it sheds them. It abandons root mass to match the top growth you left it with. That root loss is invisible. You do not see anything. Then 6 weeks later, there is a hot, dry week, and your lawn browns while your neighbor's stays green, and you blame the weather. The weather did not do it. You did, when you scalped it. This is also why letting the grass get away from you, and then cutting it back hard, is the worst thing you can do. If it got long, cut 1/3 off. Wait 3 days. Cut 1/3 off again. 2 cuts, 3 days apart, costs you 20 extra minutes and saves the root system. Crews follow this without thinking about it, because they are on a weekly schedule and the grass never gets far enough ahead to force the choice. That is actually the real advantage of a service, not skill, just consistency. The grass never gets away from them, so they never face the decision that damages lawns. There is a second effect nobody mentions. A plant that has been scalped puts all its remaining energy into replacing leaf tissue as fast as possible, because photosynthesis is survival. During that recovery period, usually 2 to 3 weeks, it is not producing the carbohydrates it would normally store, it is not fighting off disease efficiently, and it is not competing with weeds. A scalped lawn in June is a weedy lawn in July, and most people never connect the two events. So if you go on vacation for 2 weeks in growing season and come back to grass at 7 inches, do not mow it to 3, mow it to 5, wait 3 days, mow it to 4, wait 3 days, mow it to 3. It feels absurd, and it is the difference between a lawn that recovers in a week and one that limps through the rest of the summer. Number 4. Never bag the clippings. Almost never. This is the one that surprises homeowners the most, because bagging feels like the tidy, responsible thing to do. Grass clippings are roughly 4% nitrogen by dry weight. Every time you bag and haul them away, you are removing fertilizer you already paid for and then buying it back in a bag. Over a full season, returning clippings supplies somewhere between 25 and 40% of your lawn's total nitrogen needs. And no, clippings do not cause thatch. That is the most persistent myth in lawn care. Thatch is made of stems and roots, which are high in lignin and break downly. Clippings are almost entirely water and soft tissue, and they decompose in 2 to 3 weeks. Universities have tested this repeatedly, and the result never changes. There are exactly 3 times to bag. When the grass got so long you are leaving heavy clumps, when there is active fungal disease you do not want to spread, and the last cut of the season, if leaves are mixed in. Otherwise, mulch. Free fertilizer, less work, better soil. And the same logic applies to leaves in fall, which is where homeowners burn the most weekends for the least benefit. A thin scattering of leaves does not need raking. Run the mower over them, ideally twice, and they break into confetti-sized pieces that fall between the blades and decompose into the soil over winter. Michigan State ran multi-year trials on this and found mulched leaves improved soil and actually reduced dandelion and crabgrass pressure the following spring. The threshold is roughly this. If you can still see grass through the leaves after you mow, you are done. If it is a solid mat you cannot see through, get the excess off, because a wet, airless leaf mat under snow produces snow mold. So the honest version is that most people rake 3 or 4 times more than they need to, and then stop right at the point in November when it actually matters. Now I want to stop on this one for a second, because it connects to something bigger. Everything so far has been about what you remove. The next few are about what you leave behind, and this is where the gap between a professional lawn and a homeowner lawn actually opens up. It is not the equipment. It is that crews are managing the soil and homeowners are managing the grass. Number 5. They mow high. Higher than you think. Most homeowners cut somewhere around 2.5 inches because it looks neat and stretches the time to the next mow. Professionals managing cool season turf are running 3.5 to 4. 3 reasons, and the third one nobody talks about. First, root depth. Grass roots roughly mirror blade height. 4-inch grass has meaningfully deeper roots than 2-inch grass, which means it reaches water in a dry spell instead of browning. Second, weed suppression. Crabgrass seed needs sunlight striking bare soil to germinate. A dense canopy at 4 inches means that light never arrives. This is the cheapest weed control that exists, and it is a knob you already own. Third, and this is the one crews know from experience, taller grass hides imperfections. A lawn at 4 inches conceals minor unevenness, small bare patches and thin areas, because the canopy lays over and fills visually. The same lawn at 2 inches exposes every flaw. Half of why professional lawns look flawless is that the flaws are covered. Let me stop for one thing, and then we get to the 5 that actually separate a professional lawn from a maintained one. Everything in this video came out of extension research, turf science, and a lot of watching crews work, because almost nobody publishes the version that explains why the pros do what they do. I keep the whole thing in one place at backyardverdict.com, month by month, so you are not guessing which job belongs to which week. There is a code on screen if that is easier than typing. That is the only time I will mention it. Number 6. Water deep and almost never. A homeowner waters 15 minutes every evening. A pro waters an inch once a week, maybe twice in real heat, and does it before dawn. Shallow daily watering keeps the top half-inch constantly moist, and roots follow water. If the water is always at the surface, the roots stay at the surface, and you have built a lawn that cannot survive 4 days without you. You have made it dependent. One deep soak drives water 6 inches down and the roots chase it. That lawn handles a dry week without help, and the timing is not aesthetic. Watering in the evening leaves the blades wet all night, which is exactly the condition fungal disease needs. Before dawn, the water soaks in and the sun dries the surface within a couple of hours. How much is an inch? Put an empty tuna can on the lawn and run the sprinkler until it fills. Most systems take 30 to 45 minutes. That is the only calibration you will ever need, and it costs nothing. Number 7. They know what the soil is doing. You are guessing. This is the biggest single divide, and it costs about $15 to close. Every professional operation soil tests. Homeowners buy fertilizer based on what the bag says on the front and what is on sale. Here is the problem with guessing. If your soil pH is below about 6, your grass physically cannot absorb nitrogen efficiently, no matter how much you apply. The nutrient is there, the plant cannot access it. You can fertilize 4 times a year into acidic soil and get a mediocre lawn, while wondering what is wrong with your seed. A soil test through your county extension office runs about $15 and takes 2 weeks. It tells you pH, phosphorus, potassium, and organic matter, and it tells you exactly what to apply and what to skip. Most people find one of 2 things. Their pH is off and lime fixes it for about $30, or they have been applying phosphorus for years that their soil did not need. Either way, that $15 is the highest return purchase in lawn care, and almost nobody does it. How to take one properly, because a bad sample gives you bad answers. Take small plugs from 8 to 10 spots around the lawn, about 4 inches deep, using a clean trowel. Mix them all together in a clean plastic bucket, never a galvanized one, because the zinc coating contaminates the result. Send in about 2 cups of that mixture. What you are measuring is the average of your whole lawn, not one spot. If you have an area that behaves completely differently from the rest of the yard, a spot where nothing ever grows, sample that separately and label it. That is often where the answer is hiding. And one thing crews know, that nobody tells homeowners, lime is. It takes 3 to 6 months to move pH meaningfully, and it works from the top down. Applying it in fall means it is doing its job by spring. Applying it in April and expecting results in May is why people conclude lime does not work. Number 8. The fall feeding is the one that matters. The spring one mostly does not. Homeowners fertilize in spring because the lawn is waking up and it feels right. Professionals put their most important application down in late fall, and here is the mechanical reason. In spring, the plant is growing hard, and every bit of that nitrogen goes into leaf production. You get a green lawn, and you get to mow it twice a week for a month. The roots see almost none of it. You are paying for clippings. In late fall, top growth haste, but the roots are still fully active. The plant has nowhere to put that nitrogen except root development and stored carbohydrates. It banks it. In March, it wakes up with a full tank while an unfed lawn is running on empty. The trigger is not a date. You apply it when growth hastes enough that you are mowing every 10 to 14 days, but the grass is still visibly green. Green grass, growth. If it has gone brown and dormant, you are too late, and the nitrogen washes into the storm drain. Number 9. Sharp edges. This is the single biggest visual return in the entire trade. Watch what a crew does at the end of a job. They edge the driveway, the sidewalk, and the bed lines, and it takes 8 minutes. Here is why it matters so much more than it should. Your eye reads a lawn by its boundaries. A perfectly maintained lawn, with soft, overgrown, undefined edges, reads as unkempt. An average lawn with crisp-cut edges along every hard surface reads as professionally maintained. It is disproportionate, and it is completely reliable. If you have 1 hour to spend on your yard, and you want the biggest visible difference, do not mow. Edge. A cheap manual edger works. A string trimmer turned vertically works. You are cutting a clean vertical line where the grass meets concrete, about a ½ inch deep. Do it once properly, and maintaining it takes 5 minutes a week. The first time is the hard one. On a driveway that has never been edged, there is often 2 or 3 inches of turf that has crept out over the concrete, and underneath it, a wedge of built-up soil. You have to cut through that and pull it back, and it will look like you have done something drastic. That is correct. That soil should not be there. It is holding water against the edge of your concrete, and it is the reason the edge is spalling. 2 rules crews follow. Cut vertical, not angled. An angled edge fills back in within a month and looks soft from the street. And follow the concrete, not the grass. The concrete is straight. The grass line has wandered for years, and if you follow it, you will preserve every bend. There is also a bedline version of this, and it matters just as much. Where a mulch bed meets lawn, cut a clean trench about 2 inches deep with the spade angled slightly toward the bed. That trench is what makes mulch beds read as intentional rather than as a place where grass gave up. It also stops grass rhizomes from creeping into the bed, which saves you pulling them out all summer. Number 10. They fix the cause. You are treating the symptom, and this is what everything else has been toward. A homeowner sees a bare patch and puts seed on it. Next year, the same patch is bare again, so they seed it again. 5 years, same patch, same bag of seed. A crew looks at that patch and asks why grass will not grow there. And the answer is almost always one of 5 things. Compaction, usually from a path people walk. The fix is aeration, or accepting reality and putting in a stepping stone. Shade. If a spot gets less than 4 hours of direct sun, most turf will never establish, and the honest answer is a shade-tolerant fine fescue or a ground cover instead of grass. People reseed shade patches every single spring and lose every single time. Drainage. Water sitting in a low spot suffocates roots. Seeding into it fails until you regrade or drain it. pH or nutrient deficiency in that specific area, which the soil test catches. Or something is eating the roots. If the turf lifts like a loose piece of carpet with nothing holding it, that is grubs, and no amount of seed fixes it. Seeding a bare spot without answering that question is putting a bandage on something that is going to keep bleeding. So here is the whole thing, and here is how I would spend one Saturday if I were starting today. Morning. Take the blade off and sharpen it. Butter knife, not razor. While it is off, order a soil test kit from your county extension office. Then mow at 3.5 inches, in a direction you did not use last time, taking no more than a third off. Leave the clippings. Afternoon. Edge every hard surface. Driveway, sidewalk, bed lines. 8 minutes each, and this is the part that changes how the whole thing looks from the street. Then walk the yard and find every bare spot. Do not seed them yet. For each one, work out which of those 5 causes is responsible. That one exercise is worth more than every bag of seed you will buy this year. And then, in late fall, the winterizer feeding when growths but the grass is still green. That is 10 things. None of them need equipment you do not have. 9 of them are free. Now, one more thing, because it comes up constantly. If you do all 10 of these, and your lawn is still thin and patchy, you probably do not have a mowing problem. You have a soil or a pest problem, and the tell is whether the grass lifts when you tug it. If it comes up in a sheet with no roots underneath, stop reading about mowing and go check for grubs. I made a whole video walking through the test, and it takes 10 minutes with a bottle of dish soap. And do me a favor, go down to the comments and tell me which of these 10 you already knew, and which one genuinely surprised you. I am asking because I would bet the surprise is either number 4 or number 8 for almost everyone. And if I am right about which one, that is the video I make next. If I am wrong, tell me, because I would rather know.